Watch almost any commercial today that involves a product, and you'll see this. The super macro, larger-than-life point of view brought to you by a probe lens has been all the rage, no doubt.
We're like, should we bring a probe? I just hate that probe look. Yeah. It's just so overused now. And then we were like, you know what, let's just bring it because whatever.
And in most cases, it's used in this hyper-controlled way, with robotics and complex blocking. But what happens when you strap it on to a full-frame Alexa Mini LF, go on the camping trip of a lifetime with your friends, and let nature decide?
Everything is on the probe lens. All the wide shots even are on the probe lens.
This is on a probe lens?
There's not, I think in this whole video, there's 2 shots that are not on the probe lens. So every wide shot you see is also...
No, dude, this is your K35. No way, this is your probe lens?
That's the probe lens, that's the probe, everything is probe.
It sounds like Spencer and his crew really kind of made it up as they went with this one, but that's not necessarily the case. He shows us one of the cleanest treatments I've ever seen.
I like to really just like dump the ideas, the sequence of shots, you know, like dump that down and then the next day go back and clean everything up.
And proves that even when you plan for spontaneity, you still have to know exactly what you're going for.
I can dream, I can go into these places that have a bit of a break from the world, but when it comes to the edit, I think a lot of people don't really take the edit as seriously as it should be taken. The whole project is riding on that.
Ever wonder how top directors make treatments like these? There's a few ways, but an important one is showing the right reference images. And I don't mean what you can search for in a web browser or screen capture on your phone. Finding those absolutely perfect reference images, in my opinion, is made easiest with FrameSet. Skip the painful, messy, time-consuming search process. They've got tools for that. It will cost you nothing to get started, so try it out. Well, Spencer McDonald, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
This piece is fun. Was it as fun to shoot as it is to watch?
Ready to hit it? So do it again.
I mean, it just looks like one big camping trip.
Yeah, that's kind of what it felt like.
What did you do to get that?
I think the goal from the beginning of making that was to make something that didn't feel like a commercial, something that felt like you're there to kind of capture these like visceral sensations of being on these trails, not just camping, but also hiking and spending even just like 30 minutes outside. So that was the goal, and we did everything with that in mind.
Yeah, I mean, like, talk to me about how you got something like this. Like, was it your typical triple bid?
No, the process of this job coming in was different than most other projects. Myself and the production company, Avocados and Coconuts, we had worked with them a year before on another project, and they already had a relationship, AllTrails and the production company together from years prior. So we did a project a year before, which we developed a super nice relationship on. We had so much fun. Like it was this rare moment of like, we're all laughing together on set, but we're also like really making the schedule work. We're achieving the shots. So everybody was happy, so you can have fun and not feel like people are looking at you some inappropriate way for having fun because maybe the job is not being fulfilled as expected. And so this year, or for this project, which was in the springtime or late winter of last year, actually, when they came back. But they came back right away and already requested me to be the director on the project. So I didn't actually have to pitch on it, but we did then put a treatment together because we wanted to figure out like what are we doing? Because the brief that they came to us was a little bit vague. They were like, we want to capture the feeling of being outside, We want to capture these like details of nature. We want to capture something that feels like really raw and visceral. And they had used the word feels, but feels wasn't the name of the campaign per se. It was just like this name that we threw on top as we were like discussing it, because you have to put a name on something to know what the hell you're talking about. And so then so we already and it's so great to put a treatment together when you already know you won the project, because then you know everything that you're putting in that treatment is something you're going to actually have to do. Versus when you put a treatment together, you throw all these ideas in there that you're like, well, this would be awesome. And like, I think they're going to love to see this in the treatment. But it's sort of everything shifts a tiny bit when you win the project, because then you're like, okay, now we're in reality. And so when you're putting a treatment together, when you know you have the project, then it's just way more functional.
Can I just take a second to look at that treatment with you? I'd love to break it down.
Yeah, please.
It's a special one. I mean, I've seen some pretty good treatments in my day, but I really love this one. Before we dive in, what did you create it in? How did you make it?
You know, I would love to say frame set, but I don't know because I wasn't the designer.
Oh, nice. You had someone design it for you. I love it.
Yeah. I always work with the designer. This was a different designer than my usual designer. The production company already had someone on hand when it came to making this treatment. But yeah, for me, when I go about a treatment, I always write all the copy and then work with a designer to do the image research and to put it together. And like, they always do a fantastic job. I mean, I could never, it's always insane what people are expected to put together in like 3 days when it comes to treatments. Like, you're basically making like these incredible websites that are thrown together in the time that most websites would take like many months to complete, but they do it in like 3 days. Somehow the timeline in the commercial industry is insane.
Yeah. I mean, how long have you been making treatments?
I think the first treatment I ever made, maybe it was like 8 years ago, I would say, the very first one. Okay. And I remember it being like, what am I supposed to put in here? You know, and at that time I didn't even understand how to make a proper shot list. Like, so then this idea of like, oh, I have to visualize something that I haven't made yet and like sell you on this idea so concretely. It was so new to me. And now I'm so accustomed to it. I mean, like this year probably made like 15 treatments or something.
Wow. What's something that you do with your treatments now that you've learned that, you know, you never used to do with your early ones? Like, there's a delta there, you know what I mean? Fill in the gap for me. What have you learned? The big things.
I think for me, it's like the ideas are all that matters. The fluff, like how beautiful a section on tone or vignettes or outro, intro, whatever. All these little things to me are kind of the fluff, and it's just about the ideas. So I like to like wake up, drink coffee, get with all my like the 3 hours of real focused energy that I have during a day, because there's a lot of time that I don't have any focus actually. I like to really just like dump the ideas that are really what's going to be like the sequence of shots, you know, like the script breakdown or whatever. Dump that down and make sure I feel really good about that when like one day is over. And then the next day, then I just go back and clean everything up, check all the ideas.
Yeah. I mean, it's so cool that you got to make this treatment and you didn't make it for the purpose of actually winning a bid. I imagine the treatment would look pretty different if you were trying to win the bid with it.
Yeah, I think there's just a lot more playfulness that can arise when you already have an existing relationship in terms of like writing a treatment, like actually starting to storyboard and come up with ideas. This references page actually was probably this was maybe the most nuanced thing, because I wouldn't do normally like a full page of references like this. Because if you've watched these references, they are all over the place. I love all of those films. This was some work from Avocados and Coconuts, the production company from a long time ago, which was, for me, actually, before I even started directing, this was like really influential for me, so.
You know what's funny is that I know this girl right here.
No way.
She works, this is my girlfriend, Julie. She works at Hip
No
Camp.
way.
Right? She used to work at Hip Camp and was part of this whole project.
Oh my God.
Crazy.
Small world.
How small is that?
Did you know that before? Or you had already seen this?
I was about to record this and I was, you know, talk to her about who I'm talking to and the podcast in general and stuff. And she was just like, oh, this feels like a lot like a project that I was a part of a while ago. And I was like, oh my God, it's pretty similar. And then I looked at the production company And then I looked at your treatment and I put two and two together. And I was like, that's so insane. What a coincidence.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
Yeah, it's a cool project. And I can feel, I can feel some of that in this.
Yeah. This was like, I love this spot very much. The difference, I think, and what we were trying to capture this time was like, this one, what we're looking at here is all about sounds, and everything is obviously very set up, all the shots, and I think arranged really nicely. And what we were trying to capture was the feeling like nothing is actually arranged, sort of. Like you're really there. This could be what you're just seeing as it's happening. Like framing could be funky. The sound, like, what you're capturing is like just an off moment of somebody finishing a sentence or a joke or like the word in between or whatnot. So kind of like going back to what feels the most sort of raw about it to really make you feel like you're outside. But yeah, so when I had this page of references, then that picture's great. I asked the clients like, so which one of these resonate the most with you? And I was actually super surprised with which one that they said. The one that they resonated the most with was this Canon 365 Days of Summer, which was like they gave a bunch of people cameras to like film their lives during the summertime. So what you had was like these really beautiful raw moments. And once I saw that that's what they were after, then it was like, oh, okay, so now I really get what we're trying to do here.
I think I know like one of the tools, one of the mechanisms you use to create that. But I mean, you tell me, what's something that like helped you bring that to life, this rugged and raw, immersive point of view?
I think the main thing was just like having this vibe on set that was like, we can do anything we want. We're going to film a bunch of stuff. We're not going to use it if it's too inappropriate or weird or whatever. But like, let's just capture everything that we're seeing and keep our eye out for moments that feel really fun to recreate, and let's cast our friends. And like in the Seattle area, we worked with one of my like best friends and his friends. So then we had this group of these three sort of musketeers that were like hanging flowers in each other's hair and like, lying down in the mall. Those three right there. And they were like singing, they would just like make songs together. They just got so much into this sort of playful, like the spirit you have when you're taking mushrooms. And then in California, there was another one of my like longtime best friends who brought his friends. They actually did take mushrooms. And so there was always this feeling of like, we're here to have fun. We're going to film you. We're going to get enough stuff. And the crazy thing was like, we're making a 60-second commercial here. And in our first 2 days of hiking, we already had enough stuff to make that commercial. So then there was no pressure anymore. All we needed to do was capture like the diversity of landscapes and maybe recreate some stuff that we did before. But yeah, it was just, everything was about like, yeah, this sort of capturing, how do you capture the lightness of being outside if you're not actually experiencing it yourself?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think anyone who's spent an afternoon in nature can watch this and like relate to it, in these like weird, quirky, immersive ways, like some of the things that are uncomfortable, but also like so part of the process of being outside. I think you did a really good job of like capturing all those things. I want to get into this because it's an important part. I want to get into the camera setup, the technicals, the eyes that you used to capture this thing. I mean, I don't know what the budget was, but this seems like a pretty laid back project. Were you as laid back in your selection of tools?
We were the most laid back. So Mika, our DP, who's a fantastic DP and a good friend of mine now, we've worked together like 4 times. He was actually the one I worked with on the AllTrails project the year before. He built a good relationship also with the client and the production company and stuff. There's Mika. And he's like he's one of these rare mixes of someone who's so laid back, so kind, and makes you feel so comfortable, but is also so talented. And that's why I knew he'd be the perfect person for this project. Like he has just the best attitude and a fantastic eye. And so we had a lot of talks about lenses, and we were like, how do we make something that feels interesting? And like, okay, let's get like a set of normal lenses. So we had like a set of K35s, and then he's like, let's get this Poor Things, like it's some like weird lens that they do in the scene of Poor Things at like towards the end of the movie that makes everything like really bokeh. Is it the one that's got like the really swirly background? Yeah. Like a Petzl, whatever it's called? Exactly, the Petzl thing. So we had that Petzl thing, and we had a set of K35s, and then we're like, should we bring a probe? And we were both like, I just hate that probe look. It's just so overused now. It's like in every commercial you see this probe look. So we were like really talking about not bringing it, and then we were like, you know what, let's just bring it because whatever. Like we would hate to need it and not have it, and it's also waterproof and all these things. And then like it turned out that he actually he was like, oh, by the way, instead of the normal probe, I got the angled one. And I was like, cool. So I didn't even really think about it. We had not discussed like, oh, we're going to shoot a lot of this stuff on the probe lens. And then, we showed up for the first day of shooting. We started hiking. I mean, everything was so freestyle. So we had this like very loose shot list. We started trying to capture, somebody peeling an orange, and we had a normal lens on. We're peeling the orange. The sun was like in the middle of the day, really bad. We hadn't brought any lights. We didn't even have a tripod with us. And it just looked boring. And we're like, well, fuck, like, this is going to be a long shoot. I was reminded of like, oh yeah, this is why I've come so long and like wanting to be super conceptual and have a storyboard and plan everything really concretely. So then we're like, let's throw the Petzl lens on it. We threw the Petzl lens on it. We're like, this is kind of interesting, but we need to like you have to be really refined with how you shoot when you have that lens on. Like, you have to have the subject in a very specific spot, make sure the light comes from a certain area.
It's pretty
limited.
limited.
We didn't have exactly, yeah, it's very limiting, and we didn't have the ability to contrive a situation like that. So then we were like, okay, let's just throw the probe lens on it. And we threw the probe lens on it, and we're like, well, this is actually really fun. And I think the clients too were looking at the monitor, and they were like, ooh, because for people that don't see the probe lens all the time, it is a really exciting angle. And those of us who make commercials, we see it all the time, so we get bored, but most people don't. And then we filmed this orange shot, which also the other thing I loved about it was that everything's in focus. So then it's like, oh, that's what my eye sees when I'm outside. It's like this shallow depth of field thing isn't realistic if you want to make it feel like life. So then we did that, and then we wanted to film some other shot of like somebody walking. And then we just started playing around with like, wow, it's so crazy. Like when you have the lens on the ground, because most of the time also when people use the probe lens, it's in a studio or it's in like a very kind of manufactured situation. But when you put it like in the grass or like in like a squirrel's little hole in a tree, or like in what do you call the little things that go in the ground? Those little rodents that mole. Yeah, in a mole hole. Or when you put it like in somebody's ear, in somebody's nose, when you walk with it, it became like a joke actually, because we were using it so much that we would be like, what do you guys think? And then everybody would be like, well, should we go with the Salamander cam? We like had all these different nicknames for like different types of perspectives. Like Salamander cam was when Mika would like walk with the lens, the probe lens on the ground, and like do like he's an animal. And then we had like wolf cam or something where he's like running with it on the trail. And it was just like, there was like pee cam where he was like walking, like pretending to go pee, and he like would point it, like, it became just super funny, but the perspectives were wild. And even though we know what it's like now in commercials, it's something that's still pretty nuanced, and like, you couldn't have done that 5 years ago.
No, and like you've done a thing here that I think a lot of people haven't considered. Like I think when most people think about the proper use of a probe lens, it's all very commercial, contrived and dialed in. You know, it's on heavy camera equipment. Things are motorized, things are lit, things are bright, and I think it's awesome and immersive and very technical and involved. But I think that's what people are fatigued with. I don't think many people are thinking about, hey, what if I just took this thing into my backyard and put it into the grass and see what happened? I think there's like a lot more possible with this point of view that is actually maybe not explored as much. And I think you've done that here.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's what I also loved about it so much. I mean, the picture now that we're seeing of Mika, one thing that he did was really funny was like, at any time there was a body of water, no matter what it was a puddle on the side of the road, or if it was like a creek or a lake or whatever, he would put it in there, and we'd be like, what's going on inside there? So it was like, we were also like, not only were we making this film, but we were like also seeing the world differently as we were going about it by just like inserting the probe lens into everything. Like, oh, let's put it in the snow and like pull it out of the snow. Let's like have somebody grab a little pebble right next to the, like, yeah. So dude, we became like little explorers.
Dude, I rented this lens for a weekend, and I live in California. There's like a big forest of cactuses behind my house. and there was always like this white dust on these cactuses, and I was like, what? I just want to put this lens, like, because it's minimal. The minimal focus distance is like touching the front of the lens. So I just put it up into this dust, and I noticed that there were bugs. Literally, the dust that I've seen for years is just these little bugs that move around and crawl around, and that you can breathe in, and it's this crazy thing. And I was just like, it's like a microscope, dude. I can see the world in ways that my naked eye can't.
Totally, and that's actually one of the things I love the most about filmmaking. I mean, I made a film about somebody who spends all their time looking under a microscope. Like the filmmaking for me originally was like, how can I see the world in a way that my normal eye cannot? So I can dream, I can go into these places that have a bit of a break from the world. And I forgot about that. I kind of lost touch with that as I went a little bit more down this kind of commercial route and with normal lenses and like, oh, let's like use a 35 and light this beautifully and whatever and be cinematic, which I love. But throwing this probe lens on was like, oh yeah, this is what I first got excited about when I was like making films 10 years ago when I was a beginner.
Couldn't agree more. Now, you had a focus puller, it looks like, though.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
Yeah, I imagine that enabled you guys. Did you have a focus puller on the probe?
Yes, we did. Yeah. And he's the homie. I mean, he did such a fantastic job, Tristan. And it was one of the hardest things to focus pull, I think. Like Mika was like, man, it's incredible how he's able to handle this. Because Mika, not only is he running with the probe lens, which is something that this might be the only time on a shoot anyone's ever ran with that lens and actually used that moment. But he's also like, we weren't always clear on what we're trying to focus on and what we're, like where we're going to end up. So he's trying to capture focus as we're totally freestyling half the time. So it's just like, it was pretty wild. I mean, that's what I loved about this project was it felt like it was the opposite of a normal commercial shoot. And the fact that we were able to make something that we loved and still had that feeling on set, I think is something that I'll cherish in my little filmmaker heart.
Yeah, dude, you should. I would. How many days did you guys shoot? How long was the production?
So the shoot was six shooting days. The whole trip was like 2 weeks or so. We were in the Pacific Northwest. Well, first we were in California. We wanted to capture like what could kind of feel like could be sort of anywhere. And like the Grass Valley area of California was that. And that's where one of my best friends lives. So that was also perfect to capture some people that we knew. And then we were in like the Utah area where we went to, I forgot what canyon. I always get confused by those canyons, but this is where those like red steep canyons are. And then we were in the Pacific Northwest in the Olympic Peninsula, which is where all kind of the cooler shots are in this project. So, I mean, what a blessing to be able to go to three of the most beautiful places in that country.
Yeah. Walk me through this shot. Just tell me the story.
So that shot is, we were like, oh, where can we put the probe lens? And right before that, we had tested out nose cam, which was really funny when you just, you take the camera, like what you see in the picture. So you take the camera, you put the probe lens as close to your body as possible. And then you walk around and you're like, oh, that's nose cam. And then you just sniff stuff. You go put it by some flowers. What does that smell like? Put it by some other plants. What does that smell like? We got a kick out of that. I think the clients weren't having as much fun with that moment as we were. Cam. So then with the nose cam. Also because we had just done ear cam and crotch cam. So they were like, well, so then we were like, okay, let's go to eye cam, which we knew they would love because everybody loves to look at an eye up close. So then we put the camera, like we had her hold the camera and be like, okay, Mika framed it. So he was very specific about how to put the probe like exactly where it should be, but it was resting on her face. And then we just had her looking up around. And the cool thing about being outside and not in a studio is like everything that's reflected in her eye is real. And a lot of times you get an eye shot and you have to like use VFX to like remove the light reflections and all that stuff. But here we didn't have to do anything. I mean, the probe just makes everything easy. It's insane like what this would have taken 5 years ago. Let's
talk about the client. Let's talk about the product. I think, I watched the client cut because we're watching the director's cut here with you now, but I watched the client cut. And to be honest, it seems like one of the only differences is that there's a few more, shots of the app being used. But even then, it's like pretty minimal showing the product being used in this piece. overall in this campaign. Talk to me about that. I think that's really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of the intention of making this feel like it's not a commercial is meaning that we're not going to show the product more than is essential. And so, like, how can we integrate the product into the film in a way that feels natural? And so they said, we only need to show the product, like, let's capture it a few times in a few different ways, but we probably only need it once. And so then we just focus on, okay, let's just get it in a really clear way where it's like you're on a trail and you're kind of lost, which is Mika's hand holding the camera with him also holding the probe lens on his shoulder and just like moving in a circle to find the trail. But I think it's an interesting product because it's like it's technology that is supposed to kind of get you away from technology and get you outside. And I think they really wanted that feeling to come through. Like, you shouldn't actually be on the phone all the time. You should be checking the AllTrails out to make sure where the trailhead is, and that you're still on the trail, and, periodically if you get lost or whatnot. But
yeah. Let's talk sound design.
3-second rule.
It's amazing. Was any of it recorded on location?
So Nikolai, our sound designer, we wished that some of it had been, but almost nothing was. I mean, we had. At some point, Mika was like, "Oh, we can hook up a shotgun mic to the camera." So we did that, which is crazy. Like, who hooks up a shotgun mic to an Alexa? It was just like, we're like almost back in time into like it's like making a high school movie. So we did that, but we only kind of realized later that the volume was almost unusable. You had to crank it like 25 decibels in post to get it to be used. But there was some stuff that we needed it for, which was when you hear voices, like when someone drops a sandwich and someone's like 3-second rule.
3-second rule.
We didn't have the budget to like recreate all of the Foley of that stuff. Like you could do the kind of normal stuff of like, oh, let's recreate a footstep or let's recreate the ambience of wind or whatnot. But we couldn't do a lot of the other stuff. So we just boosted that. But also the fact that it felt a bit more raw, I think it kind of added something. Like when you boost that, you hear the texture of the background, you hear the noise, and it's kind of nice to have that. So the sound design was never intended to be like this very clean commercial, like super polished thing. I mean, I think it's a fantastic, what we have in there is really nice. And that's, I think, what we wanted it to be as well.
Yeah, it's perfect. It's like, there's like two parts to it. There's like two different things going on. For the music, did you guys have that written?
Yes. So when Aitor the editor who did a fucking incredible job on this project, I probably we're going to go into the edit discussion, but just to bridge that, like when he started the project, I was like, well, how do you normally work with music? Because his work is so musical. It's always like cut to, a lot of it, what he does is music videos, in fact. And so I asked him, like, how do you want to work with music? And he suggested that we have songs right away. Like, let's work with tracks already built in so we know how that's going to operate. Whereas normally I'll build an edit, or with an editor, we'll build the edit like without music, because I always like to understand how it's going to work as a story before you put the music on and then add it later. But with AllTrails, we defined the music right up front. So we already had picked these tracks and we started the edit with these tracks. And luckily these were the ones that made it all the way through.
Talk to me about the edit process. Have you edited your own work, and what's it like working with an editor?
Yeah.
As good as the one that you had for this one?
For me, I'm the pickiest when it comes to editors. Like, it is so hard to find somebody who I really see eye to eye with. And it's also because I used to edit everything myself, and I still edit a lot of things myself, or a lot of times I'll like go back and forth with an editor, be like, start it and then pass it to me, and then I'll do some stuff and pass it back to them. And a lot of editors actually hate that. So I'm not necessarily the best person to work with when it comes to the edit, because I can be so particular. That's like, I'm relaxed on set, I have fun on set, but when it comes to the edit, I'm like, no, this is where we have to, I want it to look like we had fun and be a fun piece, but I'm not fun necessarily to work with, because that's where also like the whole project is riding on that. Like, that's where you're putting it together. I think a lot of people don't really take the edit as seriously as it should be taken, I guess. So for this project, we had, I think, 12 or 13 hours of footage, which was like, we're all on set having fun, and I'm in the back of my mind often being like, well, fuck, who's going to go through this footage?
Honestly, I'm thinking like, wait, that's all though? I feel like you could have had more. Spencer?
I mean, yeah, that's true. I mean, 6 days, 12 hours. What is that? 2 hours a day of like recording time. I mean, a normal commercial, I think, would be like maximum 2 hours. And that's mostly when there's like, before the in and out points of the shot even are. So you already know right away what to cut. But for this, it was like, so 12 hours of footage. And I first went through it and I made my initial selects, which was probably 6 hours. Like there was so much good stuff. And then I made selects deeper and deeper to get down to what I knew was like acceptable to pass on to ATOR, because, you can't just give somebody 12 hours or 6 hours or even 3 hours. So I think I ended up with like an hour and a half of like, I sent up a premiere timeline with my selects, and I even like lifted up my like top selects from that footage of like, here's an hour and a half of like usable stuff. That's great. And then here's like the ones that I think are really great. And I put those on top and then gave it to him. And I think for him too, it was still an overwhelming amount of footage. He was like, man, this is like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
It's a lot. And I think he also acknowledged like there's so much of it that looks really great, because, when you're in these beautiful places, the lighting is always nice. The lenses makes everything look fucking weird. So there was so much to work with. And yeah, then he had the music. I gave him like options of music as well. I think I gave him like 10 different moods for the first section, 10 different moods for the second section. I'd already kind of defined like, okay, the first part should be more like the kind of more humorous, playful, like slightly bummer moments of being in nature. Your hat falls off, it's cold, you're going pee, whatever, like these sort of things. And the second half is more like a bit more about enjoying actually being there, and the music should reflect that in both of those different places. And so then he picked the tracks that he liked from those options, which were the tracks that are in here now, which I think were like also like my top 2 or 3 options. So that was great. And then we set off, and it actually saved so much time already defining the tonality of the music, because then you know how to make it work, and you can make really interesting editing decisions when you have music. Because that was what was interesting to me about this project, was cutting it a bit like a music video. You can create a rhythm that you otherwise wouldn't really be able to do normally, because someone drops a sandwich and then a second later you come back to them picking it up, but like it's pieced together by a few shots in between. And like this kind of rhythm, if you were just relying on sound design, like to make that kind of edit where it's only sound design, then you would have to think more about like, how are these sounds landing together versus like, how is this visual story being told? So yeah, it was interesting. And ATOR is an incredible, he's one of the best editors that I've ever worked with. So he did a fantastic job. And I feel like so much of what everybody sees in here that they love about this piece is because of ATOR's edit. So much love to him.
Yeah. Did you guys do any kind of cleanup, or just color the footage, call it a day?
Yeah, I think we just colored it and did it. There's one shot that I did my own little comping, my own VFX comp of where she's looking at these ants that's up next to her. That one. So we shot that, we kind of, rested the probe lens on a rock, and then first had in focus these ants, which was crazy, with all like crying on this moss. And then the little girl was just watching it, which was super cool, because, she was an incredible person to have on set. Another thing, like normally you have a kid, like I think she was 2 or 3. And normally if you have a 2 or 3-year-old on set, it's like this whole big deal. Like there's like this daycare thing, and yeah, and there's a certain number of hours you can have.
To facilitate that kid on set, it's your entire day.
Yeah, exactly. But instead, because the parents were like a friend of our producer, the producer was like, hey, you want to go on a hike and bring your daughter? And they were like, absolutely. So, everybody got paid a little bit to go on this hike, and they brought their daughter, and for her, it was great. And so she was just sitting there watching these ants. And, we love ants. Who doesn't love ants? So then and they're also, the other thing that I love, like the nuances of this film, like the ants that are here in this scene are a different type of ants that are in the very opening scene. These are like California ants, and those are Utah ants. These are like kind of fire ants, and the other ones are different. And I just love that because we went to these places, you capture these like different textures. Like the ants we see in a city are super different than these ones. These are like 3 times the size. So she was watching it, and then we just put the probe lens on a rock, had the ants in focus first, and then shifted the focus to her face. And then in post, I just comped those scenes together so you have it all in one.
That's cool, man. What else? Talk to me. This project's amazing, man. But what else do you have to say about it?
What else do I have to say about it? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, when I watch it, I'm happy. I think when I first sent this edit to Mika, our DP, I'm always a bit wary of sending edits to the DP because I think DPs, as our directors, are like really particular about what they like when they see something, and they have an idea when they shoot it of like how it's going to be. And so when I sent this to Mika, I think what he said was like, "Oh man, this made me really happy to see this."
It's exciting, man. I love also, like, back to the edit, you know, there's these moments where things kind of are grouped together in their own scenes, you know, like it's not just one shot of this cool sign. It's like 5 shots of signs. And when water is shown, you know, it's like there's a series of water here. And I just love how you kind of shaped this story, and made me feel like when it's time to eat, when things are being eaten, there's not just one shot of,
When it's time to eat.
you know, there's not just one shot of something being eaten. It's like a series of it, you know? And I just love
That's true.
that.
It's like the apple. She's biting the apple over his shoulder. Like they just like we didn't tell them to do that. They just were doing that, you know? Like we couldn't. It would never have occurred to me in my wildest dream to be like, okay, hold the apple on the left side and have her go over your shoulder and take a bite of that apple. You know, like so we had the time. We were actually having lunch, and then this was a real couple, and they were just being all cutesy together. And then they just did that, and we're like, wait, okay, you just did that. And I didn't even. We recreated it, but I think this was actually what they did, and the recreation didn't even work. I think it was just what we happened to capture in the moment. And like the little girl eating an M&M as well. Like she was just sitting there on the trail, and those people in the background, they were just there chatting. That's her parents. Like there's nothing about that moment that we set up. The only thing, and then we were like, the only thing we tried to do was then, so she has a plastic bag below her that has like trail mix in it, and she would only pick out the M&Ms. Like, and so then we were like trying to get this shot of like through the bag where we're watching her hand go and just grab the M&Ms, but we can't tell her to redo anything or like move her hand anywhere. So we just had to capture it in real time. We probably spent 30 minutes with her just like trying to capture her hand going into a Ziploc bag to grab an M&M.
Imagine, I mean, when the MO of the whole shoot is to let's play around and find cool shots, you sent 100 to your editors for selects, over 100, but I can't imagine how many shots you guys tried for and maybe failed at.
Oh my God, so many. And all of us are in these shots. Like every one of us also makes a cameo at some point, or at least in the original material. Like those are my feet. Also there's the guy when he eats the dude eating the sandwich, he like puts it up to his mouth. That wasn't one of these funny moments where it's like, that one. It's like, we're just like, this was like our second day of shooting. We're like, hey, just take this sandwich. We like made everybody little triangle sandwiches in plastic bags. We like handed everybody a sandwich. We handed everybody like the props we give them. Like, here's a sandwich. I hope you like peanut butter. Here's an orange or an apple. You can take a pick. And like, we just gave them like the most like basic things, and we're like, okay, now take a bite of this sandwich, and he just like slams it up to his mouth. We have the probe lens, like it's actually really not an appetizing shot, you know. Nothing about it looks interesting or looks like appealing or commercial or whatever. So that was what we loved about it, was like he just like slams it into his mouth.
Well, also things move so quick here too. You know, we're not spending any more than like 3 seconds on one shot. I think the longest shot is this one underwater, which every second of it is just...
That was the one thing that was the challenge of working with Aitor, was that he wanted to keep everything moving, actually.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, we gotta slow it down in the middle. And it took a while for us to like find that balance, because he had this momentum, and he wanted it to only breathe at the end. And I was like, I kind of want to breathe in the middle, and we took a while to find the balance, but I'm happy that we did find that balance.
Yeah, because both would work, but I really love the way that it panned out. Because I mean, I think you have a point. If you just create one speed on something, I think you might get fatigued after a while. You know, people kind of get the MO of it. They're like, okay, I get this, and then they maybe tune out or get worn out by it. But I think if you like kind of give moments to breathe in between, then I'm still on board. I'm still on board with you. Does it make sense?
That makes sense. It's funny, on Vimeo, somebody commented, like, too fast, I think. And I was like, okay, I respect that. I always love the random people's feet, like when they're like, you know what this video needs is my opinion in the comment section.
Yeah. Well, if there's one thing that If there's one thing about going on a podcast to break down your work is you'll get opinions. That's for sure.
That's true. Fair enough. I'm happy for opinions. My favorite shot, I'll say, also in this whole film, is the backpack toss in the beginning. That one. That's my favorite shot. It's one of these things where I would never in a million years think like, okay, let's have you toss the backpack and try to have my buddy catch it here. But it was just like they started doing it on their own. They were just having fun. Like we would be like getting something set up on the camera. And this group, which is my friend in the red here, Tao, is like one of my close friends. And they would just be playing around and they were like, oh, let's just like see if we can like catch the backpack. And they caught it like almost immediately. And then we're like, oh my God, we got to recreate that. And we tried. And then it's always really hard to recreate something, especially when it's done so naturally. But then eventually we were able to like film it. And also with like the framing like this, where it's like, we're just holding the camera there and we have the probe lens. Like, why would you ever use a probe lens to capture like a kind of medium wide shot? Everything is on the probe lens. All the wide shots even are on the probe lens.
This is on a probe lens?
This is on the probe lens.
Oh, wait.
There's not, I don't think there's, I think in this whole video, there's 2 shots that are not on the probe lens. So every wide shot you see is also on, that's probe lens as well.
This?
This is also probe lens, yeah.
No, dude, this is your K35. No way, this is your probe lens?
That's the probe lens, yeah.
That's crazy. Wow.
That's the probe lens, that's the probe, like, if you play this film, I can even tell you which one's not a probe lens.
Yeah, let's go for it. We're running through it now.
Okay, so far everything is probe.
Not. This is crazy, dude. You're insane.
That one, the shaking out the shoe, that's the first one that's not a probe lens.
We got one.
We got one, but everything else, it's also, I think, what makes the shots all look like a little bit nuanced is that the fact that they're all probe, like a wide shot, like him peeing, there's no reason this needs to be probe. He's like, our focus is like, 50 or 100 feet in the distance. Like, we don't need these like dead trees in the foreground to be in focus or whatever. I think even that shot, I think we even might have taken the probe off, tried a normal lens, and just realized, it just looks funnier with the probe lens. And like, he's peeing. Like, why are we not, going for something that is like serving the playfulness of the shot?
That's amazing, dude. Obviously probe underwater. Oh, did you scratch it, by the way, at all?
Did we? I don't think so. Which is crazy considering how much we ran around with that lens. Like, and it would constantly be like, you would see like Mika like hit a rock on it. I mean, we must have, to be honest, I don't know. I can't confirm that we did or did not scratch it. I think I would have heard about it though from Dahlia, the EP of the production company, if there had been some overage from a lens thing.
I had it for an afternoon and I took it to a beach and I wanted to get like sand grains in the water in the ocean. And I was like, oh, this thing's got to be pretty scratch proof, right? And I had it in there for an afternoon and I just wrecked it, ruined it. Just complete scratches everywhere. So when I saw this, I was like, oh, there's no way they didn't scratch it, but that's pretty amazing.
I mean, we might have. It's hard to say. This is just such a funny shoot. Like, it's just funny we like all come together to do something so silly for a brand also. Like, that's probe, this shot. This is also one of the shots, it's like, you could only get something so bizarre on a probe, like with the ground. Like, it's on this wet sand. So you kind of have that there. That's us setting it up. Wow. One of these moments where BTS is really helpful. Yeah, but he was just running like that the whole time. Yeah.
Spencer, this was fun, dude. Thanks for taking the time to break this down with me.
Yeah, thanks, Dylan. It's been a pleasure.